FDM, we're the market leaders within recruit, train, deploy sector. So what does that actually mean? So we recruit large numbers of graduates, ex-forces personnel and returners to work. We provide everyone with training in our academies, spread across the UK and internationally as well, in either the business or tech IT consultancy side of things. The training is all in-house within our academies, and then those individuals are employed by us as consultants and are deployed working out with our clients on their tech projects. So whether that's investment banks, media companies, government, giving them kind of that commercial experience, particularly for the graduates out in the working world as well. As I said, Jeff and myself are both based in the UK, but we do have offices internationally across the US, Asia Pacific region. We've recently opened up in Australia, and then we do some pockets of recruitment in other regions as well, like South Africa. So quite a big global company, and we hire about, on the graduate side of things, around 1,100 graduates a year in the UK. And then internationally, about 2,500 people will come into our business. And then the numbers on our returners to work and ex-forces, they're newer programs, so they are quite a lot smaller, but we'll explain a little bit more, particularly about the Back to Business program later on as well.
Yes. With that comes about 150,000 applications, so it's very high volume recruitment for us, hence the gray hair, and if you look closely, there's some bags under my eyes here. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about hiring women in tech, and I think a lot of this stuff we're familiar with. I might be repeating some of the stuff you may already do. I think a lot of times it's just about refreshing the memory, and it might be something you thought about you wanted to do as an initiative maybe a couple years ago and you forgot about it, and hopefully maybe some of this stuff refreshes your memory. But I think anytime you want to launch any kind of initiative to try to grow and get more women into IT, you have to have an advocate, right? And for us, we're very fortunate to have Sheila Flavell as our COO, who is that driver, that advocate that's going out there and trying to promote more women in IT. Sharing her story where, she started in Glasgow as a police officer, serving the Glasgow area, and then obviously moving, and now she's our CEO of a major tech company, and going out there and working with Parliament, trying to find ways to get more women into IT from an earlier age. And, there's a lot of reports out there that I think there's an interest in IT with females at that school level, but there's a gap. Something happens from when they go to school to university where that drops quite significantly. And I think all of us as a business need to all work together to try to figure out what is that issue and why is there that gap. And Sheila's done a fantastic job, working in Parliament and trying to get that awareness known. But also it's just getting involved as well wherever you can as a business. We are sponsoring this event. I thought I would share this with you as it related to the topic. We're a sponsor of our Every Woman in Technology Awards. We have extended this deadline, so if you have anyone within your teams that you think is great and you want to nominate, please do, because this is another fantastic event and a great way for you all to share and highlight some of the success stories you have when it comes to female in technology. I'm going to show you a short little video because it's great that we have somebody like Sheila to help support this initiative, but it starts from her and it needs to trickle down. And I think for you and your businesses, you need to think about who are your advocates, who are going to advocate that change. I'm going to show you a short little video that we produced recently. I think with a lot of this stuff, it does start from the top and trickle down and look across the different departments of your business and really think who are going to be those agents for you, those advocates that are going to help you drive your social media strategy and getting that message out there to attract the right talent and then talent that you're looking for. One of the key things that I think helps attract females into business is when you look at a gender pay gap, and something we're quite proud of. We were one of the first companies to actually publicly release our gender pay gap, and I think this is this kind of stuff that really is going to help attract more females into the business, because these are things that they look at. They want to know that they're going to join an organization where they're going to be at an equal level when it comes to that pay gap. And I think there could be a stereotype around the pay gap. I think a lot of times when everyone's reading and thinking about the pay gap, they're thinking about the person sitting next to me. Are we getting paid an equal amount? But actually the pay gap is more of looking at all the females and all the men and averaging it together, and is there a gap in the pay? And if you see a gap in the pay, then you need to look at your management structure and think, if you have a big gap, that means you don't have enough females at the top level of your organization. I did bring some, there's a stack here. I did bring some of our gender pay gap reports if you guys are interested and want to take a look at it and see what we're reporting on. You can also find it online. But I think for us, and the reason we're quite proud that we have a 0% pay gap is because 50% of our actual management team are made up of women. So we have a 50-50 split in that management level. One of the other initiatives we just launched recently is our Getting Back to Business program over the last year. And this has really helped, again, start attracting, getting more women into the business. And actually, it's not just for women, it is for men as well, because everyone takes career breaks for different reasons. Whether you're raising a family, those kids are old enough to go back to school, you want to get back into work. And we really designed this program to look for those people that have these strengths, but then probably lost a little bit of it. And I think, if you've been away from the tech industry for 5-6 years, I think you would lose a little bit of confidence coming back in and thinking, can I actually get back into that industry again? Or should I think about doing something different? This Back to Business program has really been designed to help really train and develop those key skills that they had, getting their confidence back and then deploying them back out with our clients currently. We launched this last year. We did over 100 people onto the program, and we're targeted for another 100 this year alone.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit around the attraction and on the advertisement side of things, which is obviously a crucial element and something we've kind of talked around a lot today as well. But there are different tools that when I kind of talk and work with our marketing teams that can help to make sure that the advertisements are as gender neutral as possible, because there are certain platforms where they are aimed at females, so you want the language to be kind of more female language, whereas actually what you want is your adverts to have much more of that gender neutral tone to them, so that they're including the hard skills, but they're also including the soft skills, which are seen to appeal slightly more to the female market as well. So there are certain softwares, I don't know if people are using them or have heard of them, there are certain softwares out there where actually you put your advert or your job description up there, it highlights certain phrases and areas within your advert and pulls out kind of the gender it would appeal to slightly more as well. And one example that our marketing team mentioned was Textico. On that side of things. They also said a key part is actually seeking feedback from advert partners as well. So obviously there's lots of kind of partners out here today as well, but actually if you speak to your advert partners and say what has worked with other organisations, what could we do, what slight tweaks could we make to our advert that would pull in a kind of more diverse audience in any aspect, then they often are able to offer advice and support on that side of things as well. So they did say that including the diversity statements and highlight kind of notable achievements within that space are likely to appeal more to the female market. So for example, the gender pay gap report is a key thing that we're really proud of at FDM. So including that element as part of our advertisement is quite a crucial key part to the strategy, along with other kind of notable achievements within diversity and inclusion as well. And I think we've talked about it a lot today, but actually the key is kind of sharing those success stories and showcasing where we have had successes, and also I guess areas that we want to improve on and develop and why we want to do that as a business. And I think often with any elements around diversity, people often just presume you're doing it because it makes your business look good, but actually there's a real fundamental kind of business reasons, actually you produce better products in the outcome in the end as well. So actually showcasing the achievements, showcasing where you want to make those changes, really help to show the audience that you're wanting to target that actually they are the people you want to hear from as well, and really challenge those stereotypes. And that's a key part of what I try to do out on university campuses with students and graduates as well, is challenge those stereotypes of actually who is that kind of stereotypical software developer, and actually someone who might not fit the mold and is a little bit different, comes from a different background, is someone who could be like someone else who'd never considered that route before, and kind of showcase those stories and challenge those typical stereotypes as well.
I think with the media partners, I can't stress that enough. My media partners probably hate me because I'm on the phone with them all the time, but they are the key people, right? They're the people that are engaging with your candidates. I'm sure people like Women in Tech are going to exactly tell you what the right way is to kind of put together your job description. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm speaking maybe out of turn, but you know, it's one of those things, they're the experts there. They know what's actually attracting and getting the people in for you.
And then attraction through events. So I've spoke about it within the roundtables I've been involved with today as well, but actually you need to broaden the reach, and that's something we see as crucial at graduate level, but also on our other programs as well, is if we're all going to fish in the same pond of that same group of people, there isn't enough out there to fill everyone's roles. So actually, how can you broaden the reach? Who are other people who could potentially be a good fit for the opportunities you have within your business as well? And how are you actually going to attract those and reach those people? So we, rather than in the university space focusing purely on women in computer science or women in tech events, we explored more around kind of general women in business or successful women sharing their stories, and more of those kind of networking events which focus more around confidence and building your skills and getting to know other people and hearing challenges that other people have had and how they've overcome those. And they seem to really pull a good crowd of a real diverse range of people, a lot of females as well, and really get those good discussions going around actually areas that people might feel less confident within as well. We also within Scotland are involved in Equate, where they focus heavily within the kind of female STEM side of things. So they've helped us a lot with the adverts that I was talking about earlier around actually getting the language correct for the audience that you're wanting to reach. Sprint programs and other university initiatives that are out there around kind of career professional development and confidence really for females. And it's all about having those females who share their stories and actually say what their challenges were and how they overcame them as well. And then some new work we've started doing actually around the resilience piece, and doing workshops around resilience and how encouraging people to actually think about the resilience that they're bringing into the workforce, how they can develop that and improve that, and it just pulls a slightly different audience to what a kind of purely tech event might pull, for example, where you could find people suitable for your roles and organisations. And then we were just talking about it in our last roundtable, but actually those in-house events where people actually get a chance to come into your business, see the people who are actually doing the roles, see people who are a bit like them and actually think, oh, I can do that, they did that, so why can't I? And kind of break down some of those barriers and just give people a lot more confidence within their abilities and skills, and get to know the people behind the kind of faces of the organizations as well.
Although a lot of this, this is a lot of stuff we're doing on campuses, but a lot of this can still be done internally within your business. Even thinking about trying to run these type of events to attract the experienced hires. We do a lot of stuff, similar to what in-house does. We do a lot of that in-house as well for us, and there's a lot of opportunities there to just bring a lot of that internal. I think you can still work, even if you're going for experienced hires. I think a lot of people forget the power of the university. If you're looking for experienced hires, you can still go to the universities for those. I go to the Alumni Association and find out what alumni events they're doing. Is there a way you can do an event with the university, with their Alumni Association? And there's an opportunity that you might be able to pull some really great talent just doing those type of events as well. So with that, Katherine's now going to hit you with some pretty scary numbers. I don't say scary, but it goes back to what she meant about broadening the reach. So we always like to present some numbers.
Yeah, so the key thing, and one of our key kind of USPs at FDM is that we recruit, even for our really technical roles, from people from such a broad range of different degree backgrounds and experiences as well. So this is the breakdown of degree diversity for generally our female consultants. So those are people in the very technical roles and those people on the more kind of business IT consultancy around kind of project management, business analyst as well. And so you'll see that actually only a small proportion of our hires come from the kind of more traditional computer science background. A large proportion obviously come from STEM, but that's still only 44%. And then we have a big proportion that really come from subjects that even the students themselves would never think they'd be working in tech. And so it's kind of breaking those kind of misconceptions and challenging those stereotypes and showcasing this data with actually those people who then can think, oh, I did geography, well, maybe I'll go work there just like those other people did as well. And then we've also included some of the breakdown from the actual degree backgrounds of some of our Java developers. So one of our most technical courses. And for all there is obviously a proportion coming from that computer science background, we do see a strong number coming from obviously a maths background and some other courses that you might never have even kind of expected. And what we are looking to do at the moment is kind of, are there some programs, some initiatives that we can actually put in place with potentially kind of social sciences type courses where we can actually start to implement and develop some of those tech skills whilst they're at university, so that by the time they graduate they already know that is an option and an area for them to go into. But actually showcasing the data and having it there to back it up, to tell those people actually do consider it as an opportunity, really does support the case of what it is that you're actually saying and telling them about as well.
I think it just shows that anyone can code. I mean, everyone on our Java stream trains for 14 weeks, and that 14 weeks is probably equivalent to a year of learning how to code. And from there, we've trained 2% Japanese. We didn't even realize we had Japanese graduates with that degree. And then ancient history. I mean, all these people have been taught how to code in Java, which is quite interesting. When I came into FDM 3 years ago, I really started looking at our numbers and how can we use data to increase diversity. And I started kind of dissecting our recruitment process. And if you haven't done this already, highly, highly recommend running all of your numbers from application to hire and do a male-female split and see, is there any gaps there where you might be losing some of your female candidates. 3 years ago, we were losing 40% of our applicants from the video interview stage. 2 years ago was 20%. Now, you know, it's extremely a lot better. I think it's sitting about 8 or 9%. But it just took a matter of training the recruitment team of how to approach the female candidates when doing a video interview, and just coaching them and letting them know that I'm the only one that's going to watch your video. If you don't want to see yourself on camera, there's an option to blur it, you know, and just really making them feel comfortable doing that video interview, which in the past, the recruiters just like, yep, I'm going to send you this link, just do this video interview. Once it comes back, I'll review it. They were just processing machines. I'm like, guys, you have to stop and just take a second and really coach not just the female candidates, but all candidates through that entire recruitment process so they feel comfortable doing that. So that had a huge increase. And all these stuff you can do internally that's going to actually help benefit your female hiring. So you may not have to go out and do all these different types of events and do all these things. When you might just be able to look at your own process and increase that hiring number by a couple percent. Pre-screening stage sits at 1% difference, which is really good. The last time I actually just ran this data recently. So at an application stage, there's only 1% difference between male and female. It was really interesting. So I did a lot of work. Arctic Shores is a company that we use for our gamification that we use in the assessment center. And we started with them, but just as a trial, running our a verbal reasoning test through them. And they've been really great, and they helped us run all of our data with even using our tests and our success rate. And we kind of dissected our assessment center tests. And after doing that data off about 4,000 candidates, we actually found that we were having an adverse impact of female hires in one of our tests, which was our set notation test. So that really made us take a step back and say, all right, we need to actually sit and look at this test how can we make it better. Working with Arctic Shores, we actually stripped out the set notation. And through that data research, we found out that the math test was also just testing the same thing. So if we had a candidate fail our math test, they also failed set notation. If they passed math, they also passed set notation. There was no difference there. So we ripped that out, and we actually started using Arctic Shore's numerical reasoning test. And that actually is then running the data. Now it's showing that we now have that gender balance going through the assessment center just in our testing stage. And if we'd actually run that data, we wouldn't have known. And it wasn't a huge amount. It was only a couple % off. But when you're putting 4,000 people through an assessment center, that couple % actually equals a lot of potential hires. So, you know, I highly recommend, and I've talked about this before at events, as far as knowing your data inside and out and really looking at it broken down on a male to female perspective. And when you do that, it might actually highlight some areas of opportunity. And it's probably some really quick wins. You know, it's hard to, from an attraction, to build that momentum from an attraction piece to get everyone to start applying. Start with your process and just look, is there areas of opportunities? And that would be your quick win there. So kind of went through that a little quickly because we decided to put together a little bit of a debate. So we wanted you guys to get some conversations going. I knew it was the last session. Let's get everyone talking. So we're going to run a debate on your table. So we went around during a break. We put a piece of paper that's upside down. Natasha's holding it up there on your tables. And we thought we'd just have a debate and all of us just kind of talk. And because this might actually, there might be some people that are very for or against setting quotas on female hiring. And we put just some probing questions down there for you guys to just get the conversation started. But it'd be quite interesting to hear what some of you guys think about this. And just to let you know, from an FDM perspective, this isn't, you know, we're quite neutral on this. We're not actually saying we're for or against, but we just thought based on the topic and what everyone's talked about today, it'd just be a good conversation point for all of us just to kind of talk and see what the thoughts are out there of whether you're for or against setting quotas for female hiring. Let's get a show of hands as who was for and who was against. So raise your hand if you were for. Whoa, interesting. And obviously, any brave soul, you sure for? No? Against? Obviously, everyone's against. All right, so let's just get some conversations going. What were some of the things coming off the tables? Particularly, why was everyone against? What was ticking those boxes for y'all? Anyone want to share? Yep.
I think it just drives all the wrong behaviors.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. So it just, it means that whether it's hiring managers or whether it's the recruitment team, the agenda's all wrong.
Yeah. It's just one of the things we have to be careful because all these events, everything that we do, I don't know about anyone else in this room, but I've actually had female candidates come to me and say, I don't want to be focused on an event. I want to get this role because I've earned it and not just because you're ticking a box. And, you know, so we have to be very careful when we're running these events, particularly if you're going to run anything with the schools or universities, but even publicly. So we always try to, you know, make a lot of our events kind of open to everyone, but absolutely. Any others?
What it really means for the companies to be diverse, because it comes more of a target driven, like what to get women in the door kind of thing. So I think it's more around culture and the importance and ambassadors and roles and things like that.
With our recruitment team, every month we do something. We sit down with each one of our recruiters. We do something called a PDM they introduced. It's called Personal Development Plan. And we look at their entire performance and their numbers from X to Z, or X to A to Y or whatever. But on there is actually their female hiring. Now, we don't target them, and I always tell my recruiters that I'm not going to target you on your female hire, but I am going to show you how many female hires you have hired, because it's just an awareness. It's just something to pay attention to. I was like, I'm never going to target you on you, but it's one of those things that pay attention to just see what your number is, and it's just something to be aware of that will also help drive the right behaviors within the recruitment team as well. Anyone else?
So I think it's a good idea to set quotas for CVs, so the CVs that you show to hiring managers, only because that's our job to be able to give a diverse amount of candidates. But then through unbiased training, through interview training, through that kind of thing, we should be able to trust our hiring managers to pick the person that's right for the job. Not because of their gender, not because of their age, just because they're good for the job. So when we set quotas, it's going to turn
Yeah.
it kind of starts to get morally and ethically wrong because you don't want to be the token woman in the company. You want to be hired because you're good at the job.
Exactly. And to take that one step further, like because we do a lot of unconscious bias training at FDM as well, but in our assessment center at that final interview stage, we rip out the university information and they get no CV, our interviewers. So it's kind of like a blind interview in a way to take away that unconscious bias, because just because somebody went to Oxford doesn't mean, oh, they must be great, they went to Oxford University. Not bashing Oxford University, obviously, but it's just that unconscious bias. So I would probably challenge in a lot of ways of taking out the names off of the CVs when you give them to your hiring managers and look at the actual criteria and do something a little bit different that way. Anything else? One more maybe? Yeah?
Even if you enforce a quota, if your culture hasn't changed, they won't stay.
Yeah.
So retention will become an issue. They'll leave within 6 months because it's not the right culture. They've just you just hide a feeling for the sake of it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, everyone in this room, we all work extremely hard to find the right people for the business, to think about the business as far as making sure the diversity is right, making sure the gender balance is right. And we do all this work, and all this work that we've just shared with you, we've last year only increased our female hires by 4%. It doesn't seem like a lot when you look at the scale of what we recruit in, it is a significant number, but it's a lot of work just to get 2, 3, 4% in the business. But it's just one of those things we just have to keep pushing forward, not just from female hires, but from a diversity perspective in general, and just doing what's right. And that's what everyone in this room does every single day. So thank you very much for that. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Do follow us on social media.